Well, guys, I'm under the weather, but we're going to get through this video together. We can do it. Alright? Not going to get into what's going on with me there and stuff like that, but probably about another week before I'm recovered. And hopefully we'll avoid a little knife action to my eardrum there. So, at a specialist. So, anyway, moving on here. Making this video pretty much because the last couple of videos I've made have ended up being Star Wars themed, which nothing wrong with that, you know. And even though the views weren't huge on them and stuff like that, it seems like the people that liked them, and I ended up getting some packages in. Okay, and that's why I figured it was time to make a video again. I'm very grateful for the packages being sent in. First thing that got sent to me was from our friend Garrett, better known as Comicguyrulez. Alright, go subscribe to him. He sent me a package, and I thought it was going to be a Star Wars Marvel Treasury Edition. It was, but he sent some other stuff. And I went ahead and unpackaged it, and he sent a little note here. Hey Tim, hope you like the book, Star Wars Rules. But down here he cracked me up. Star Trek is cool too, laugh out loud. Pretty funny. Which is absolutely right. Wrath of Khan from 1982 has got to be, you know, one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, as it should be everybody's. Alright, so what Garrett ended up sending me was, before we get to the Star Wars stuff, was he sent me some things that were just fantastic. I love getting this, man, because I've been wanting to get a few more and stuff. He sent me some Howard the Duck from the 70s, some Steve Gerber, John Buscema, Gene Colan, Steve Loyola, you know, masterpieces here. Number 3, where Howard is the master of quack fu. Alright, we got a little horror story here. Secret of the Cellar Sinister. Number 6 of Howard the Duck. Just some great stuff. Love that cover. Number 9 here. What Bites the Beaver. We have a monster beaver. And let's face it, who of us haven't run into that? And then number 11, you know, Bus to Oblivion, Howard the Duck. Never read this one. The other ones I flipped through when I was a kid. This one, never seen this one. So this should be interesting. And, you know, people have been talking about Marvel, some ads in the comic books on some other channels and stuff. And, you know, I'm all for that, man. I've always said Sea Monkeys. The Sea Monkeys ad was always my favorite ad in the comic. But, you know, I think Joe Orlando actually ended up drawing that. It was Wally Wood. Joe Orlando I'm going to go with. But anyway, my 2 favorites were the Evil Knievel stuff, because I actually had the Evil Knievel bike with the figure on top, and I'd make ramps by putting down a lunchbox and getting a piece of cardboard or wood or whatever I could find, and having to do some spectacular, you know, great gave me some spectacular air there. And I always wondered about this ad here. I mean, I've actually seen Alex Ross redraw this in one of his many works of his that I have. But, you know, who the hell was this guy? Does anybody know, or what happened to him? Or, you know, he's smiling now, so apparently he proved something to somebody. Alright, but now onto the Star Wars stuff, right? I had Marvel Treasury Edition number 1 in one of my previous videos, and now we had Marvel Treasury Edition number 2. Now, if I remember these right, the first Treasury Edition was 1 through 3 of the actual Star Wars comic book, okay? And then this one should be issues 3 through 6. The first 6 issues, if I remember right, retold the story, the movie of Star Wars. So now we have it in great big huge Marvel Special Edition Treasury size. And I love this, man. We even have a picture of, I remember this picture from when I was a kid, George Lucas and Obi-Wan Kenobi hanging out, man. Sir Alec Guinness, if you will. Which was on set, which was always cool. And I don't know, this is just so much better, bigger. It's great stuff. Just great stuff. Alright, so I appreciate that, Garrett. Thank you very much for the Howard the Duck and the Star Wars books. And then the great Steve Ogden, out of the blue, man. Between me being sick and I'm assuming him working and stuff, we haven't really talked like we used to. No big deal. Well, you know, life happens and we always know where each other's at. And out of the blue, man, I go to the post. I didn't check my mail yesterday. I felt so bad after coming from work. I just came in. And then this morning I checked my mail on the way to work and found a package from him, and he sent me this. I I actually went and showed the principal at the school that I got this. It was so funny. But it's a novelization of Star Wars a year before the movie came out, and it says it's by George Lucas. And but the title is great, and Steve pointed it out in his letter to me, his note to me and stuff. You know, same thing. I would have thought the same thing without reading it, but I love the title of this: Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. And the video that I did was the Star Wars miniseries coming out from Dark Horse, where they take George Lucas's original script and they are adapting it to comics. You know, the pre-Star Wars movie, the original vision, and it's going to use the original designs, character designs and whatnot in there and stuff. And on the cover, man, we have some of the original designs of Luke, Han, C-3PO, and R2. So, which is very cool. I never knew this existed. So technically, I think this is the first Star Wars piece of anything to come out. I, you know, have to do a little research there. So this is very cool. And what's interesting is that it does not start out in a galaxy, you know, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. It starts out another galaxy, another time, and that's in the prologue. So this is going to be one of those things where I just fly through this one, man. As soon as so that was very appreciative. And with all the Star Wars talk, I don't know how many more videos I want to have to do with Star Wars and stuff. And Disney's bought up Star Wars and they're making the movies and everybody knows about it and stuff like that. And with Steve sending me that, you know, and Comicguyrulez sending me that, which thank you guys very much and stuff, something happened I started thinking today while I was driving back from work. And I actually remember the moment that Star Wars actually saved my ass in a very, very important moment in my life. True story. So I'm going to give you a story here. And it goes back to basic training, okay? I went to basic training when I was 20 years old, and I was 110 pounds, and I had been 110 pounds probably for 5 years. You know, I just, you know, grew and then it stopped. And I lived a lot of life, seriously, in between that 5 years. And I'm one of those guys that, you know, kind of snubbed my nose that ever joined the military. I don't know why. Probably a little rebellion and stuff in there. I respected it, but, you know, it's like, I'm not going to sign my life away, and I'm not going to have somebody telling me what to do and all that stupid stuff. And then after going through it, I'm like, yeah, everybody needs to have 2 years of this minimum. I turned into one of those guys. So what had happened was that growing up with Star Wars, and one of the other videos I did, I talked about remembering seeing Star Wars for the first time and walking out of the theater and pretending to have a lightsaber fight, and other kids around me were doing it. And growing up in that after Star Wars world now, we kind of moved around a lot when I was little in the same areas, you know. In the same town we moved a lot, but it was neighborhoods and stuff. And everywhere you went were swords. Okay, this was also the early 80s, moving up into the early 80s, where ninjas were big, and lightsaber fights were everywhere, and swashbuckling became part of playing. And it just got real. I saw some real intricate stuff. I love when people get innovative and stuff, you know, kids, teenagers and stuff. We whittled sticks and stuff to make our lightsabers. And then we got the campfire going, and they showed us how to, you know, some kid knew how to introduce the whole concept, which is, you know, now that I'm older, it's not a brand new concept, but you stick your sticks in the fire and dry them out a little bit and let them cool off, and it makes them harder. So we would lightsaber fight with those. No matter what we were doing, He-Man, didn't matter what it was, we knew we were doing Star Wars, so we would actually do the spins and stuff like we saw in the movies. Moved around a little bit, and I saw some kids that were like about 13 or 14 and stuff, and they had taken pipe, and they got real intricate because they made sheaths for them and stuff. I mean, they just took like this nasty pipe you would find in a ditch and stuff around here and stuff, and some pieces of iron or whatever they found, and they just made some immaculate homemade swords. You know, it was just really cool. So we all played around. And like I said, it was the time of ninjas. Some kid, you know, everybody started having nunchucks out of nowhere, and some kid would show up with throwing stars, shurikens, and I got a scar in the lower back here where first time I ever threw a throwing star, I got all excited, was throwing a big piece of wood, and bam, right in the back of my head. You know, I was like 9. Come on, man. But we would take broom handles or mop handles and stuff, and we would take our time and got really intricate with black tape, wrapping them around there, and we go out and we had ninja fights, and it always ended up being Star Wars sword fights, no matter how you started out. So, as you can tell, this went on for years and stuff, so I wouldn't say that I gained some real skills, but I was, you know, it got good. Some of those, you know, people got cracked and fingers got cracked, and nobody ever got mad. That was the thing. Nobody was out to really hurt anybody. Nobody ever lost tempers and stuff. Which I say these things in amazement because working with kids and stuff, I don't know where things changed, but you know. But maybe we're just, you know, a good bunch of kids back then. But yeah, nobody, people would get their fingers smacked and they'd get over it and jump right back in there. And nobody ever did good stuff. So, fast forward here. We're in basic training. The first 2 weeks, basic training was 6 weeks. First 2 weeks is what you call total control. And in an odd way, I have a bunch of stories I could tell, but I'm going to stay on track here with the Star Wars thing. But in an odd way, I took to it like a duck in water. One of the things is that I had a bit more of I did a little bit more living than a lot of guys that had showed up, which was, you know, really amazing and stuff. And some of the guys that I got with. And that first 2 weeks, people were getting, you know, I saw a 6'4", 19-year-old guy break down and cry because he was missing his parents back in Kentucky, and that was just blowing my mind because this guy already had like a receding hairline. He was 19. Had a guy from I think he was from Brooklyn, and he was half African American, half Italian, Muslim, and he would sing the acapella with, you know, like the barbershop quartet thing. They would sing Boys to Men and stuff like that on the street corners and stuff, and I thought this guy's from the city and he's done some living. First time he ever been away from home. First time I grasped the concept that just because you live in the city, you still have your hood, and it's his words, not mine. He tried to explain it to me. You know, just had his neighborhood that he never been out. Probably never been off, you know, off his block hanging out the way he was talking and stuff. And he was crying on me, and I was consoling people and stuff. And actually, I was doing pretty good. Only guy that didn't get his boots thrown out the window. Only guy that didn't get his mattress ripped apart and thrown outside. You know, this stuff was simple. Get up, make your bed. You don't, you know, just to me, it was simple. And then it happened. 110 pounds is what I weighed. Combat boots. Never wore anything other than tennis shoes my entire life, and when I did wear combat boots, they weren't official leather combat boots. You know, I can't remember the brand. They were soft and for shows what they were. You know, I didn't know. I went to the Army Navy store and was buying these boots that I was in love with, and it turns out they weren't actually the Army boots. Which, you know. So you get in there and it's tough leather, and you got to break them in, and you get T-splints, and you know you're marching around, and you're like, oh wow, and your feet are adjusting because they're not tennis shoes, and it's one of those things. If you weren't there, you're not going to understand. But you didn't run in these things, okay? You marched in them, and you moved at a quick pace, and you know you lived in them. And you had 2 pairs of these combat boots, and you know you wore one pair while the other pair dried out, and everything like that. And then we had 40 pounds of gear on our back. I'm a 110-pound guy, all right. And, of course, somewhere along the line, we pissed off the drill sergeant. Sergeant Lauterbauer. The man looked like Hitler. I'm not joking. He knew what he was doing. He was a German from Michigan, and he knew he looked like Hitler. He had the mustache. He had the hair flipped over to the side, high and tight. The first time I saw the guy, I'm like, I have Hitler. And he did not like me. There's no doubt about it. This was not a mind game. This was not officer and gentleman. This guy did not like me because they didn't have paperwork when I got there to basic training. And they didn't know anything about me. I found this out later. They had no idea who I was. They had no idea what was going on. My paperwork had not arrived, so they had to show me who was boss first thing. I get it. They didn't know if I'd get a rifle and go crazy on them. They didn't know nothing about me. But anyway, and of course with my mouth back then, I mean, I was a quiet guy, and I had a long, you know, I could take a lot of crap, and no big deal, but there were certain things you push my buttons on, and it came out of my mouth, and that was me. So anyway, we have a 40-pound rucksack on my back. These combat boots, I'm already getting, you know, splints and stuff like that. I'm toughing it out, and I'm doing pretty good. And and we pissed somebody, all of us, I don't know, pissed off the drill sergeant, and we ended up running 2 miles with 40 pounds on our back in those combat boots. And we're not running on grass, we're running on pavement and then on the gravels and stuff. And the back of my knees, I want you to, on both of my knees, right, you know, go all the way back right where the bend is, where it's nice and squishy back there and soft and stuff. I was told that's cartilage or something back there, and mine turned into ground meat. All of a sudden, my knees are giving out, my legs are giving out, and I've still got 3 weeks of basic training to go. Then I got, like, I don't know, I think 4 months of AIT training after that with just 2 days off, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm popping pills left and right, anti-inflammatories and stuff. I went once to let the doctors look at it, and man, they were all over me for doing that. And I tried to tough it out, and I was doing PT and running every morning. I was like, making noises to everything I did. My legs were cramping up. I mean, it was bad. I got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I didn't know what I was going to do, because it was getting to the point that I could not walk. I mean, it was that bad. It was just nothing but shooting pain and mushed up ground beef in my knees, you know, right there where they bend and stuff, constantly after that. I've never experienced pain like it. Never. I'm not even going to act like I handled it with grace, man. I did hear one guy say that I was kicking ass, and I was just like, he's got to be saying that because, you know, he knows I can hear him, you know. So we come down to it, and we have, after 5 weeks into basic training, they bring us out to the pits, and it's sawdust on the ground, and it's in a square, like, gigantic sandbox is what it looks like. We're in the box. That's what they call it. We're in the box, and it's bugle stick time. And they told us, first guy to knock out his opponent gets to be first in line for chow line for the rest of basic training. Not a bad idea, you know. I'm like, okay, I'm up for this, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And I've got Sergeant Lauterbauer right there. I'm the first one. They picked the littlest guys, and I'm the first one. And I had to go up against a guy named Mole. Now remember, I started out at 110 pounds. We're, you know, 5 weeks into this. I'm sure I've gained some weight and stuff, but I can't move my legs. My knees are shot. And I get up there, and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And Lauterbauer's like, this won't take long. I mean, he's just already done. He's just disgusted. I even got the bugle sticks in my hand. The bugle sticks are, if you don't know, you know, if you haven't watched American Gladiators or anything, is a rod with 2 gigantic, you know, looks like a giant Q-tip, man. On the ends, it's got padded stuff on. It's like 2 giant boxing gloves is how I was describe it on the end. I mean, it was not soft. That's what surprised me. So all of a sudden, man, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what can I do? And the guy's coming at me. All right, we got helmets on, looks like, you know, face guards on, and he's coming at me, and I'm already in pain. I'm trying not to show it. And he comes up to me, and then it happens. Right? I flash back to childhood. And all of a sudden, I take a step to the left. I do a big spin, and all of a sudden, this is not a bugle stick I'm holding with 2 hands. It's my lightsaber. And I do a spin, bam, back of the head. Take a step to the left, or to the right, go back, bam, got him again. The place is quiet. We were surrounded by 125 guys, and they just went quiet. I remember the silence, and I caught a glimpse of Sergeant Lauterbauer like that, but my legs are shot. That last spin, I followed through, and after I hit him, and I kept following through, and now my back is to my opponent, and I can't move. And the pain in my leg is so bad that I can't see because I've teared up. I mean, it was automatic, just a big shock through up my legs and up my spine. I'm like, oh no. And all I know is I went blank. I shut my eyes. I've accepted that I'm about to be humiliated in front of everybody. I'm going to hear it from Lauterbauer. And I'm still going to fight, but I mean, he's behind me. And all I know is I hear cheers. Now, right before I started hearing the cheers, I'm not going to lie, I actually heard use the force in my head. I mean, I lost my mind. Pain shot through me. I'm getting humiliated. A million things going through my head. Use the force, and then I hear cheers. Lauterbauer comes over there, grabs my hand, lifts it up, and goes, now that was a killing blow. I don't know what the hell happened. And I turned around. Mole is down. All right, the guy I was fighting was just flat on the ground. He's not knocked up, but he's about to puke before he gets up. No idea what I did. No idea. And then everybody was just like, how can we follow that, man? We got to, you know, the guy started doing Jedi moves. And I'm like, you damn straight I did. So, anyway, that's my Star Wars story. Thanks to Comicguyrulez and Steve Ogden for this. And I hope you guys like the story. So, maybe you had to be there. I don't know. Later, guys.